We are live. Assalamu alaikum, my brothers and sisters. I hope everyone is well. I know it's been quite a while since I've done one of these, but today I've brought you such a special guest, so it's definitely worth the wait. I've got a lovely revert sister by the name of Alina Brown. Assalamu alaikum, sister. I hope you're well. How are you? You look beautiful, like I said.
Thank you so much. I'm doing great. Hope you're doing well too.
Yes, thank you. I'm doing great. I've seen a lot of your content on TikTok and Instagram, and I love the message that you're giving off. And I really like how much you're sort of being honest about your journey. So hopefully it'll help other people. And
Thank you.
hopefully we can talk a wee bit more about your journey today. I know you've recently converted from Christian to Muslim and left America to move to the Middle East. I mean, there's so much to unpack just from that one sentence. I mean, that's quite big life-changing things that you've done. So as a former Christian, can you please share why you left Christianity for Islam? Was there a specific reason? Was there something that you just didn't feel was right? Because I know you were you attended church and you were quite a strong Christian before leaving Islam. I'm sorry, before coming to Islam.
Yeah, so I grew up Mormon, also known as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is under the realm of Christianity. And yes, like you said, I grew up very religious, going to church every Sunday. And then after learning about the early history of the Mormon Church and the shady practices of it now, I decided to leave that religion. And then after stopping going to church as a teenager, I still considered myself to be like loosely Christian, but I wasn't very religious or steadfast in any one like denomination. And then I met and married my husband Jamal, who is Muslim and from Kuwait, and so he introduced me to Islam. And after we visited Kuwait, summer 2022, he began studying Islam more, and I felt this peace, like with his increased religiosity. And I wanted to get this area of my life figured out too, because, it was kind of like wishy-washy. I didn't know really what I believed. And so we were studying Christianity and Islam together. He was reading the Qur'an, I was reading the Bible, and we would have long discussions, and I realized that I couldn't really explain my beliefs. They didn't really make sense to me. And I became disenchanted with Christianity and with the Bible. And my sister Lizzie and I tried out a few different churches, and I just wasn't feeling it. I didn't connect with any of it. And then I started to connect more with Islam because we would listen to the Qur'an together, watch tafsir videos together. And the concept of one singular, all-powerful creator of all things, that makes sense to me, whereas Christianity didn't.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's beautiful. And it's beautiful when someone gets married and it's actually their partner that leads them to Islam. I think that's a really beautiful thing because they're part of your journey. Is your sister also converted to Islam, or is she still sort of not sure? Oh, she has? Oh, that's beautiful. So you've done that
recently.
journey. Oh, mashallah, that's beautiful. So you've both done that journey together. So that must have been nice to have someone that's going through the exact same thing that you're going through.
Yeah, for sure.
That's great. That's honestly, I think that's such a beautiful story. And see, now that you're Muslim, can I ask sort of what your thoughts are on the Christian concept of Jesus? Because I know I've seen some of your videos where you have said that you were surprised that, Jesus is also is a prophet in Islam and he's part of Islam. So what's your thoughts now on Christian Jesus compared to the Muslim belief that Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him?
Yeah, so I think the concept of Jesus in Mormonism and Christianity is pretty confusing. I grew up loving Jesus and learning a lot about him. I was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but Jesus isn't God. He's not a part of God. God doesn't need a human sacrifice. God is all powerful. That's what God is. And Allah can forgive us. We can reach out to him and he's all powerful. And so, yeah, the concept of Jesus in Islam makes a lot more sense to me. in that he was a creation of Allah, similar to Adam, and he was a prophet.
Yeah. Is that some of the discussions that you had with your husband when you were looking into Christianity and Islam? Was Jesus one of those things that you discussed?
Oh, yeah. That's like the big question, like, one of the main differences between them. So yeah, we had a lot of discussions about it, and I couldn't really explain my beliefs. They didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. No, I can understand. And I think a lot of people, that sometimes is what leads them to Islam, is when they look at Jesus and how he's actually represented in Christianity. And sometimes it doesn't make sense. Obviously, it depends what you believe, because there's different parts of Christianity. But yeah, I can understand how that can be confusing. I know that when you convert, and I've spoken to a lot of reverts, and one of the most challenging things is telling their families and their families accepting it. And alhamdulillah, a lot of reverts actually have families that are really open about it and are really happy for them. How was it telling your family? Like, how did your Christian family react? I mean, obviously your sister's taken the same journey, so that must have been nice. But were your parents, did you have other family members that maybe didn't understand as much?
So I called my parents the day that I took my Shahada, a few hours before I did, to let them know I was going to. And my dad was very supportive, very happy for me. He wanted to celebrate, have a party, and he wished that he could be there. So that made me feel really good to have his support.
Yeah.
And my mom has also been supportive. She's the only one who's still like active, like going to church regularly. So yeah, and then now my sister has reverted also. So yeah, I have a friend in the family, I guess, like someone who really understands and gets me like that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Hopefully, inshallah, you and your sister will guide your mum and your dad towards Islam, and inshallah they'll join soon too. Obviously by seeing you, because I think a lot of times that it's leading by example instead of sort of lecturing someone about Islam. It's just showing them how much peace and happiness it gives you, and then they'll just look into it more themselves. I think sometimes that's the way that people go.
Yeah, that's
Obviously,
what I'm focused on.
Yeah, and I'm really glad and happy that that's what you're focusing on. I know you mentioned your Shahada, and it was probably one of the most memorable days of your life, officially becoming Muslim. And I've said this before when I've spoken to revert sisters and brothers, that I'm a little bit jealous that you get to have that experience, because obviously when you're a born Muslim, you're just born into Islam, which is also, it's a blessing. But having that experience of taking your Shahada must be such a peaceful thing. Like, can you describe that day? How did you feel? How did you feel afterwards?
Yes, it was a very memorable, glorious day. And it was in November of 2022. It was a cold day in Utah. And Jamal and I went to the mosque together. It was about 15 minutes away from our apartment. And at first he went in to touch base with the imam. It was about Isha time. And then I was like excitedly waiting in the car, like, oh, this is it. And then he gave me the signal. I walked in, and it was a small, modest mosque. And I went up to the front, and the imam had me introduce myself. And he asked me what religion I was prior, and if I had read the Qur'an, and what stuck out to me about it. And I recited Surah Al-Ikhlas, just about the concept of one singular, all-powerful God. And then I repeated after him the Shahada, first in Arabic and then in English. And it was a wonderful feeling. And he told me that all my sins were forgiven. And it was like a fresh start for me, like totally clean slate, like a baby. So that made me feel amazing and emotional. And yeah, it was a wonderful day.
Do you find yourself you've changed a lot since that day? Like, do you find that just in everything, like your thinking, your actions, everything has changed?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I feel like Allah has guided me, and I'm so grateful, and I feel a lot more wholesome as a person.
Yeah. Oh, mashallah, that's beautiful to hear. It's really nice when you hear people's Shahada story, because everyone has got a different story. Some people make it quite a big day. Some people just like it to be quite simple. So it is beautiful to hear your story. And it sounds like it was a beautiful day. I know that you're American. I don't know what state exactly you're from. Is it Utah you're from?
Yeah, I've lived in a few different states, but mostly Utah.
All right, okay. So you're originally from there, and then I know now that you live in the Middle East, in one
Yes.
of the most affluent countries in the Gulf region. You've relocated to Kuwait. How did that come about? And do you prefer living in Kuwait to living in the States? I mean, it must be different now that you're Muslim, so you must prefer it because you're in a Muslim country. But how did that come about?
Yeah, so my husband Jamal is from Kuwait. All of his family
Right.
is here, and he landed a job in the oil sector. So after he finished up his master's in Utah, we packed up and moved here, and it's been wonderful. I feel so welcome and safe here. I love the culture. I love the people here. The food is amazing, and it's great living in a religious Muslim country. I get to hear the adhan 5 times a day, and yeah, I love it. And yes, I prefer living here.
Yeah, I've never been. It's actually one place that's on my list, and somewhere that I would consider moving to as well because I've heard a lot of people say that there's such big opportunities when you move there, and it's just different. I know that you've got a beautiful baby girl, mashallah, and you're bringing your child and inshallah more children up in a Muslim country. Was that one of the main reasons why you wanted to move as well? Because you were thinking about sort of how to bring your child up? Have you got any plans about raising them Islamically?
Yeah, so yeah, I love living here, and I think it is a great place to bring up our children. And like I mentioned before, I'm really focused on becoming the best version of myself and leading by example. So being steadfast in my prayers, making sure I pray all the prayers on time, and learning more about Islam, dressing modestly. And this is what will impact her and
Yeah.
our other future children. And also providing a safe and spiritual environment for her to prosper in. So teaching her Quranic stories, listening to the Qur'an. I play it in our apartment now. Um, Providing her with modest, beautiful clothing, when she's older. So yeah, these are the things that will impact her, mainly leading by example.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, especially as a mother, sometimes that's one of the main things. And I mean, for me, when I became a mother, was one of the reasons it made me look at myself more than anything else because you were like, oh my goodness, I'm a role model for my own children. And how am I acting? What am I doing? What's important to me? What will be what's important to them? So it does really make you look at yourself, which is a blessing, I think, when you have children because it makes you become a better person.
Yeah.
Do you think, yeah, do you think about her like schooling and where she would go to school? Would you like to homeschool her? Have you thought about things like that?
Haven't really thought too much about it yet. She's still pretty
Yeah.
young.
Yeah, I know. And I think a lot of people do, but obviously you're in a Muslim country, so you don't have the difficulties, shall we say, that some of us have in Western countries in
Yeah.
terms of schooling and things like that and what they're teaching children. I know a lot of parents are struggling to find a way to school their kids in an Islamic way that will be good for them. So for any viewers that are struggling, if you're a Muslim parent or a wife or even a wife to be and you need some general tips and advice, I have a free mini course to help, or I have a Telegram group that's free. It's all Muslim parents that get together and discuss issues like that. And you can speak like where it's somewhere that's uncensored, or if you need more help, please feel free to book a call. But I know that a lot of people do struggle, and I don't know if people reach out to you about that as well, sister.
Reach out to me about like their children's education,
Yeah,
or
and just generally bringing up your children about being a
um,
mother.
I haven't gotten people reaching out to me about that yet. Maybe I will
Yeah,
when my daughter's
yeah,
older.
she's getting a little bit older. Yeah, probably will because I think a lot of times mums like to talk to other mothers because that is just the way that you can connect, isn't it?
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, definitely. I noticed that you're wearing a hijab, which I said you look beautiful in.
Thank you.
You're wearing it full time, and I respect that so much because it's such a big life-changing thing as well to wear a hijab. I didn't start wearing a hijab until my daughter was born. Like I said, it was sort of like made me look at myself, and from someone that never wore it to wearing it, it was Yeah, it's a big change. So I'm sure you found it a big change as well. Can you describe your hijab journey and what led you to wearing it consistently?
Yeah, so when I was learning more about Islam, the concept of modesty in Islam really fascinated me.
Mm,
Whereas growing up, I was always trying to push the boundaries, trying to wear tighter clothes, shorter skirts. So the concept of modesty in Islam really makes sense to me. And whereas before I thought that modesty was a bit outdated and
mm,
frumpy and for older women. And then I would go on social media and see these beautiful, confident, hijabi girls living life, doing their thing, being fully covered up and confident in themselves and their faiths, and super fashionable. And it really impacted me. I didn't know that modesty could be like that.
yeah.
And then the first time that I put on hijab was in preparation to do the contract signing to get married to my now husband, Jamal. And I ordered it online with a modest, long, flowy dress because the contract signing was in an imam's house, so I needed to be modest.
Mm.
And I put it on, and I felt like an angel. I felt cleansed and purified and wholesome. And it was a wonderful feeling. I didn't want to take it off, so I wore it out the rest of the day. And my husband's reaction was priceless. And then after that, I wore it a few times, not religiously, but just because I liked the feeling. I felt
Mm,
lovely wearing it, and it felt like a guard for me, a
yeah.
way to keep my thoughts more pure and my actions more wholesome. And it still feels like that now. And then leading up to taking my Shahada, when I was considering reverting to Islam, I wasn't 100% committed to becoming a hijabi. I
Mhm.
thought I didn't want to box myself into it. And then that changed. When I took Shahada, I was so proud of my new faith, proud of being Muslim, and I didn't want to go out without it. And so when I took my Shahada, that was when I started wearing hijab, like
Oh, mashallah,
consistently.
that's
Yeah.
beautiful. And have you struggled with it? Have you found anything that's been challenging? It's beautiful to hear how much you love it because it is such a, it does protect you. You do feel protected by it.
Yeah, so alhamdulillah, it's been pretty easy for me. I feel like I'm no longer a slave to society's beauty standards. I feel like
Yeah.
I've taken back the power and the respect for myself.
Yeah. And I think a lot of girls, a lot of women struggle with that because of society, especially Instagram. You know, the big thing is to not wear any clothing and to have your hair out. And that is what makes
Mhm,
people look beautiful. And I think people then,
mhm.
especially women, sort of conform to that and not knowing the beauty and the peace that you feel with covering up and with wearing a hijab and not having everybody see you and just having your husband see you. You know, it's just a much more special thing for you as a couple as well, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree with that.
Yeah. And what about your daughter? I mean, now obviously you've got a daughter, and would you encourage her to wear hijab or would you let her have her own journey?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely encourage her and also, lead by example, but I'm
Yeah.
not gonna force her or anything, I
Yeah.
can only control myself and my actions. So that's why I'm focusing on bettering myself and leading by example. But yes, I
Yeah.
will
No.
encourage her, of course.
Yeah. Inshallah. And inshallah that journey will be easier for her. I know my daughters, they see me wear it, and my eldest, she's 3 and she wants to put one on, and I have a little small one for her and she likes to wear it, and even when we're going
Yes.
out sometimes she likes to wear it. So it's nice when they see it from you and they like it because you're wearing it, so it's like you feel like a role model, like a good role model. You're like, oh my goodness, it's beautiful. It makes me want to wear it a lot more.
Yeah.
It makes me feel happy when she's like that. So yeah, I understand the feeling. I know that as a revert, you'll have a lot of first times coming up and new experiences coming. Have you previously observed Ramadan? Obviously, we have Ramadan coming and Eid coming. Have you previously celebrated Eid before, or is this the first time that you'll be doing it?
Yes. So before becoming Muslim, I fasted for Ramadan with my husband. It
Okay.
wasn't like 100% though. I had a few sips of water here and there, not gonna lie. But it was a great experience for me. And then last Ramadan, I was pregnant, and so I chose not to fast for health reasons. I still celebrated Eid though, so that was fun. But I'm really looking forward to this one because I'm here in Kuwait, a Muslim country. So, everyone's fasting with you. It's not like you're just alone doing it. It's more of a community thing.
Yeah. And I think it's a beautiful thing to do it together. I think sometimes when you're around people that are not doing it, you're the only one, you do feel a little bit like, but it's like more of a celebration. And again, I think when you have children, it's more of a celebration. Like I decorate the house and I put up like a good deeds chart for my little ones so that they also get excited by it. So it's definitely, a beautiful time of year. Have you got big plans for Eid? I mean, what about your family? Do they celebrate with you or do they not celebrate with you yet? Obviously, your sister's Muslim, so.
Yeah, so last year we were living in Utah, and that's where my family is. So we did celebrate Eid together. We just had a big family dinner, and that was fun. This year I'll celebrate it here in Kuwait. So yeah.
Yeah. What is the sort of most challenging thing that you found about converting to Islam, if you don't mind me asking?
Maybe like making sure that I pray all the prayers on time. It's not always easy to wake up early and pray Fajr. Sometimes you don't really feel like it. So that's something that I'm really focusing on now, is making sure that I pray every prayer on time, because I want Allah to bless me. And that's
and I think that's a challenge for reverts and for born Muslims. I think growing up, people have to get used to that routine of praying. And obviously when the times change throughout the year, you have to get used to the different timings as well. So it's a challenge, but I can imagine for a revert it must be a lot of a bigger challenge to add that into your daily life. But speaking of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, namely reading the Quran and performing salah, have you read the Quran in English? I strongly believe that if you want to read the Quran, you should read it in English.
Yes. So I first listened to the Quran in English, and I didn't really get much out of it. I was mainly listening to it just to get the gist of it, to understand my husband's religion a bit more, and just say that I did it out of respect for him. And then after we visited Kuwait and we were learning more about religions together, that's when I would sit down and read it and watch tafsir videos, learn about the context behind things, and that's when I started to understand it more.
That's good. Do you find any sort of part of it that reaches out to you more than other parts?
Well, I love how it talks about, like, when you take a step towards Allah, He runs towards you. And I think that's very beautiful. He's always wanting us to reach out to Him.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, that's true. Do you find that you've got a different connection? I mean, you must have, than when you were reading the Bible and Christianity. Do you feel the difference? Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I did not really connect with the Bible, especially the Old Testament. Super confusing. And my husband would show me some passages and some contradictions in it. And yeah, it was really confusing. So I definitely connect more with the Quran and Islam.
The Quran. MashaAllah. That's beautiful. And I know we were talking about praying salah and there's 5 daily prayers. How are your salah prayers? I mean, was it a journey trying to learn to read your salah? How did you start? Just for any revert sisters and brothers that are struggling with their salahs, is there any advice that you would give them?
So before I took Shahada, I would sometimes follow along with my husband while he was praying because it really intrigued me. And then after I took Shahada, he taught me the prayers, he taught me the Arabic, and so I learned pretty quickly. But anyone who is struggling with it, it's a real privilege that we have. We can talk with the creator of the universe and we get to worship him. So it's really beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's definitely beautiful. And I think sometimes people take it for granted that you're standing in front of God and you're speaking to Him about your worries and about your fears and happiness as well and blessings. And there's just so many things. And it's such an honor that we have as Muslims. I think until you do it, you don't feel it. It's definitely
Mhm.
something that you need to do. And it's interesting to hear that you done a lot of these things before you took your Shahada. Like that must have helped when it came up to taking your Shahada because you already sort of had a feel for the religion.
Yes, and my husband has been a wonderful example to me. If he wasn't taking his faith seriously and praying regularly, I don't think I would have thought to revert to Islam, because he's been a great example to me and, taught me about the religion.
Yeah, mashallah. And hopefully you will be a great example to your daughter and to other brothers and sisters or other people that are non-Muslims. And hopefully you will lead people to Islam also through your story. Thank you so much for joining me today, sister. I'm so blessed and happy that you've taken the time out from your beautiful family to come and speak to me today and share your journey with me. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and protect your family, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Maria. Pleasure talking with you.
Thank you. Have a good, beautiful Ramadan. I know Ramadan is coming, so Ramadan Mubarak when it does come. And yes, enjoy it. If you need any help, any suggestions, please get in touch. Hopefully, inshallah, we'll speak again soon.
Okay, thank you so much, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Rami and I need your help to build a masjid for orphan girls. World Without Orphans estimates that hundreds of thousands of orphans have lost their parents in Indonesia. We've recently inaugurated the second branch of Nurul Qur'an in Cibadak, Sukabumi, a school for orphan girls specializing in Qur'an memorization. We provide shelter, education and nourishment for up to 60 orphan girls, aiming to make them certified Qur'an teachers. The missing link now, however, is the central place of prayer, supplication and learning, a masjid. This masjid will serve both the girls and local community and become a space for a self-sustainability project. Your support will make this possible, giving these girls a place to learn, to pray and to grow. Join us now in building a masjid for these orphan girls on their journey to becoming Qur'an instructors. Together, guys, we can make a difference. Donate now.